from Broadway to Tel Aviv. One of the most beloved musicals of all time is coming to Israel. Hairspray. For the first time, John Waters' cult classic story set in the 1960s segregated Baltimore is going to have a brand new Hebrew production here in the Holy Land. Our culture correspondent Maya Margit got to take a sneak peek at the show and find out what makes this musical so special for Israeli audiences as well.
It's one of Broadway's most successful musicals. And now, for the first time, Hairspray is coming to Israel. The Tony Award-winning musical is based on John Waters' 1988 film, set in 1960s Baltimore. It tells the story of teenager Tracy Turnblad and her journey to stardom as she fights against racial segregation on her favorite TV dance show.
For me, it's a dream coming true because I've been loving this musical ever since it came out. So I'm so happy it's here in Israel. I have a chance to do it in my mother tongue.
I'm doing this bitch from hell. Okay, she's racist. She hates people. She thinks that, you know, you need to be like her. Everyone needs to be thin and white and blonde. She doesn't like black people. She doesn't like fat people. For her, it's like the disaster. It's hell.
With its big hair and bold music, the classic tale about outsiders, racism, and diversity is guaranteed to be a hit with Israeli audiences. All of the songs have been translated to Hebrew, but the setting remains the same.
There are many aspects of Hairspray that are relevant here in Israel. In the musical, the conflict takes place between African Americans and whites. In Israel, we also have issues happening between Israelis and Palestinians. This is why I believe the message of the musical, of accepting those who are different, is really relevant all over the world.
It's a star-studded show, featuring many local favorites, like Itzik Cohen, who's in the hit Israeli TV series Fauda, recently picked up by Netflix. Cohen plays Tracy's mother, Edna, a role traditionally performed in full drag.
I'm having a ball doing Edna for the first time in Israel. It's a great role. It's a very important role for me because I started my career as a drag queen like 22 years ago, and since then I did a lot of musicals. Fiddler on the Roof, The Producers, and now Hairspray, so it's very, very fun.
Hairspray's message of acceptance is one that everyone can relate to, especially in Israel, a place marked by decades of conflict and racial tensions.
The fact that it has black characters, that's what I'm really excited about. That, like, I've never had a chance to actually be in a musical or anything, and you have three characters that are like main characters in Israel, and they're black.
Any way you slice it, Hairspray promises to be a showstopper in Israel when it premieres this August, showing how the award-winning musical hits all the right notes. Maya Margit, I-24 News.
Hey, Maya Margit.
Hey.
I have to tell you that within the last year, I watched the Israeli versions of Hair, of West Side Story, and Les Miserables, which was by far the best one. Why do you think this is going to be a success here in Israel, Hairspray?
I think they've invested a lot, not only into the music, which is amazing. They translated each song into Hebrew. That's not an easy feat, especially when they have to make things rhyme. They also have an amazing cast of very famous, experienced Israeli actors. Sorry?
Who's there?
Who's in the cast?
Yeah.
So you have Itzik Cohen, a very famous actor who's also in the hit TV series Fauda, which is also on Netflix, which everyone can watch. You have Tali Oren, a great actress. You have Idan Alterman, very famous also in Israel. And so you have a very star-studded cast. There are others as well who are very famous. And they're going to have a live orchestra and all kinds. It's going to be a really big production. And this is one of the most popular Broadway musicals of all time. So I think it's going to do quite well here in Israel.
Do you know when is it set to go on stage?
It's set to go on stage next week. It's going to be touring around the country.
Already? Wow.
Already next week.
Okay.
Going to be touring around the country for a few months at least, or until tickets sell out completely. I think they're going to be touring for a very long time.
I hope so for them. But I have to tell you that these productions sometimes are very colorful and happy. Sometimes sometimes it comes at the expense of content. This is how I feel. I don't know how you feel, though.
So this is really a Broadway-approved musical. I mean, the story itself is a classic kind of, it's a happy story, but at the same time, there's a message of acceptance, of accepting people who are different from yourself. And I think that message is what they kept in the play, and it's going to be an amazing musical.
All right, Maya Margit, you're my +1 to watch this, right?
Sure.
You only watch the short version, I guess.